I honestly do eat healthy. I try to practice what I preach. Do I consume junk food? Yes, I do think it's important to consume cheat meals. Your body needs that. You cannot deprive your body of certain carbs and certain fats throughout the week and not try to, you got to put it back in at some particular point in time. So I use my cheat meals as a way to put back those carbs and fats that I've deprived myself throughout the week.
Today, personal trainer and fitness model Obi Obadike is back. He answers all of your fitness questions. Great to have you back again
Thank
one more
Greg.
time,
Absolutely.
Obi.
I always love coming on your show, and I'm excited to answer all of your questions.
Okay, well, you know it. And I should say, by the way, that you're an advice columnist or do fitness columns for seven
I'm a
magazines?
fitness columnist for 7 different magazines globally. One called Inside Fitness in Canada, Australia Natural Bods, Ultra Fit, Fabulous African Black, and West Africa. So basically West Africa, Dubai, Middle East, Canada, two U.S. magazines. So I love to write. I mean, it's just an honor and a pleasure to be able to educate people on health and fitness.
So are these monthly columns?
These are, I would say some magazines are quarterly, some are monthly, some are bi-monthly, so different, yeah.
But so you get a lot of questions from people.
I get questions all the time from my Facebook fans, from the readers, and so what happens is that I'll just, anytime I get an email from a reader, I just drop it in a folder, and I try to just pick the best questions that I think would be relevant to the readers of that particular magazine. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some of those questions today, so I'm going to just ask you a few of the reader questions.
All right.
Dear Obi, I don't know what they say, but we'll make it up.
That's what they say.
You're the man. Why is breakfast the most important meal of the day?
Well, breakfast it acts as a catalyst to start up your metabolism. I mean, just think about driving a car without fuel. You need fuel to be able to drive on the road, and so you need breakfast to be able to function throughout the day. It is the most important meal of the day. I know it sounds like a cliche, but it is so important consuming breakfast because it literally will start up your metabolism when you wake up. So as soon as you wake up in the morning, that should be the very first thing you should consume, a very nice, healthy breakfast.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because I've always liked a big breakfast. I'll eat more in the morning even than later in the day.
I would honestly say if you want it, your heaviest meal should be the very first meal. And the most carbs you should consume is that very first meal, which is your breakfast time. So you were doing the right thing.
So what do you eat for breakfast? That's my question.
What do I eat? What does Obi eat? Okay, I eat egg whites, oatmeal, a whey protein drink, and a protein bar. So that's my breakfast, yes.
How many calories is that?
I would say it doesn't exceed 600, I'd say. Maybe 500 to 600 calories, I'd say, for the first meal.
Okay.
Yeah, you should not exceed 600, but I would say 500 and some change, I'd say.
So don't have the Thanksgiving meal for breakfast?
No, not at all, not at all. But you definitely want to make sure that the most of your carbs are consumed during the first meal. I would try to, if best as possible, because that's going to give you energy throughout the whole day. So, and it's going to jumpstart your metabolism throughout the whole day. So.
Okay. You feel it kick in?
It's going to kick in, my man.
Okay.
Burn that fat.
I'm getting hungry right now. It's past breakfast.
So I'm going to give me some breakfast right now.
Are carbs good for you?
Carbs. Everybody's afraid of carbs. Yeah. Carbs is good for you. I don't understand why people try to avoid carbs. They think that you consume a carb meal and all of a sudden you're just going to blow up. No, you need carbs. It's just a matter of when to consume them. You want to make sure that you consume most of your carbs. If you're consuming 5 meals a day, try to get most of your carbs in between meal 1 and meal 3. I wouldn't advise consuming carbs late at night because it will store in your body as fat. So carbs is good for you. It's just like fuel in a vehicle. It is the energy, it is your main energy source so you can be functional. If you're on no carbs, you're literally going to be almost like a vegetable. You're not going to be able to function, you're not going to be able to process things properly. And so yeah, carbs is very, very important.
I'm glad to hear that because I like carbs. I mean, that's why I like your macaroni and cheese and...
Just a matter of what type of carbs you should consume, such as brown rice, sweet potatoes, and just making sure that you consume them within moderation. You're not going to you're not going to consume too much of the carbs. Just a matter of just knowing the portions and at what particular time you should consume them.
Because you do hear so much about all these low-carb diets. Like you said, it has almost gotten to the point where it's a dirty word.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with having your carb intake low. Just don't zero it out. You know what I mean? Those zero carb diets, they're fat diets. They're not. It has been proven that zero carb diets are not functional. They're not healthy for someone that's trying to attain the ultimate fitness goal throughout their whole life, which is being healthy and lean. So I would not advise a zero carb diet whatsoever.
And now when you say low carb, can you give me an example of how many carbs a day should you have or per meal? And then what would be low carb or too low?
I would say anything below 50 grams, I would say, per meal might be a little bit too much, to be honest with you.
Okay, too much. What about too little? I guess is anything
Oh, okay,
below?
I'm saying anything less than 50 grams 50 gram of carbs per meal, I would say would be too little.
Oh, I see.
But as far as regarding, I would say, you saying per day, less carbs? Well,
Well, when you're saying low carb, that that it doesn't have to be low, or I mean,
right. I would say honestly, if you're consuming your carbs, make sure you just consume your carbs meal 1, meal 2, and meal 3, and that should be enough.
And what does it take to get at least 50 or whatever? I mean, how many?
I would say probably maybe an oatmeal. Consuming oatmeal, that should be about 50 grams, I'd say.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I did mean like total carb consumption for the whole day or whatever.
Right.
So, which would be?
I would say for the whole day, honestly, I wouldn't consume anything more than 200 grams. I would say 300 grams of carbs per day. And like I said, everybody's different, everybody processes carbs differently, and it really depends. I can consume probably more carbs than somebody else because my metabolism is super, super fast. There's some people that if they eat carbs meal 1 through meal 5, they'll blow up. So you have to identify your body type. So me giving you a number, I can't say that's going to be good for everybody because everybody's body is different the way they process carbs. Well,
we'll pick up on that in a second. We'll be right back with Obi Obadike. And we are back with Obi Obadike today, answering all of your questions, and actually a few of mine about fitness as well. And I do have a question for you. I was just thinking about it. When you say fast metabolism, or people say increase your metabolism, what does that mean exactly? I mean, when you say you have a fast metabolism, and what's slow and what's average, and how do you measure that? When people say they're going to measure their metabolism.
Sure. Well, when you're, having a fast metabolism is someone that obviously can probably eat junk food throughout the day or weekly or often, and they still have abs and they're still lean. There's a lot of people that way. Typically, there's a lot of guys that way. There's some people that if they eat junk food more than 2 times a week, they're just going to blow up and be fat. So you have to identify when you're consuming healthy foods and junk foods, you have to identify how it's going to respond to your body. So, typically, if you eat, let's just say you eat junk foods on the weekends, right? And you step on the scale maybe 2-3 days afterwards and you've gained a couple pounds. Well, you're probably someone that maybe has a fairly slow metabolism, but the things to speed up your metabolism is obviously working out consistently, eating small meals a day.
And does it matter whether it's weights or cardio?
I would say a combination of weight training and cardio. Do not do it, cardio burns calories at that particular time. Weight training burns calories throughout the day. Okay, and that's the difference between anaerobic and aerobic training.
Now, have you ever measured your own metabolism?
I've never measured my own metabolism.
Or had someone measure it?
No, not at all. But I know for myself, I have a very, very fast metabolism. I could probably consume more than two cheat meals within the week. Maybe let's just say I'm consuming 2 cheat meals a day, and I consume it 3 times a week. That's a lot for some people. That's a lot, but I can, because number one, I've been weight training. I've been involved in training since I was a kid. On top, I do have pretty good genetics, so I don't eat that way, but I can, and I can still be relatively very, very lean.
And that is just not fair. I just want you to know. I just want to say.
Right, but I honestly do eat healthy. I try to practice what I preach. Do I consume junk food? Yes, I do think it's important to consume cheat meals. Your body needs that. You cannot deprive your body of certain carbs and certain fats throughout the week and not try to, you got to put it back in at some particular point in time. So I use my cheat meals as a way to put back those carbs and fats that I've deprived myself throughout the week.
But I'm just curious, going back to the thing about metabolism though, do you know how they measure it or what it's, is it, it's not, is it calories or horsepower?
Right. I can't give you an exact metric.
I've never heard, because I always hear people say fast or slow, and you get the idea that you're burning calories, but I've never heard what the actual measurement is.
Right. I don't know the actual measurement off my head, to be honest with you, but yes, you definitely can do that, that's for sure.
Well, I'll take your word for it that you have a fast metabolism, though. I'm trying to speed mine up a little. Okay, so how important is diet versus training in attaining your overall goal of getting lean?
Well, diet is 80%. It's 80% diet, and I would say 20% training. I think that's why we see people that are in the gym every day that weight train and do cardio, and you see them every day and they still look the same.
Yeah.
Well, that's because their diet is just off. You can literally you could probably attain your fitness goal just by dieting and not even going into the gym. And I do online training, and so the success of my program is the diet when I'm giving someone a diet program. So 80% diet and 20% training. I'm not saying that working out is not a good thing, but it's more diet than training.
No, I really believe that, because in my life, my weight, there's always that 20 pounds, and, from like 180 to 200, and my weight varies. And when I'm being good, it'll get down to 180, and not so good, 200. And but like you said, you can go to it doesn't matter how much I run or go to the gym if you're not eating. For me, it always comes back to I have to watch my calories, and when I do, I can lose the weight. But damn it, I gotta watch what I eat.
No, it's tough. It's tough because there's so many delicious foods that's junk, and typically.
That's my drugs. Food is I don't use drugs or alcohol, but food is my drugs. You know what I'm saying?
We're talking about 50% of society. It's drug. You know what I mean? I like junk food too, but it's just a matter of just being mindful and conscious of what you put into your body. So.
Okay.
And trying to avoid those fast food places like KFC. So that's my favorite thing, fried chicken. So anyway, that's another segment itself.
I like chicken. Everything tastes like chicken,
Okay.
So, tender, crispy chicken, but that's another story. Just to get a little plug for Burger King there. So how important is genetics in regard to the gains someone can make while training? In other words, you said you have good genetics, and you hear that. People say they have good genetics. How do you know that it's not just really they're working their ass off or they train themselves a certain way? Does it just come down to some people are predisposed? That's it, thank you.
Yes.
To have a good physique or not, and it's just easier.
No,
for some people.
absolutely. Genetics plays into the overall development of your physique. It's true. It sucks for a lot of people, and it's good for some people that are in great shape. So. I've always believed anyone can get abs. Anybody can. It's just that some people have to work harder to get those abs. I'm one of those type of people, like I was telling you before, I have a naturally fast metabolism. Do I train my butt off? Absolutely. Is my diet on point? Yes, I'd say so. Do I have to probably work out as hard as someone else that doesn't have my genetics? Yeah, certain people are just going to have to work harder than others. So yes, genetics plays in the development of the shape of your abs, the peak of your bicep, how wide your back is, how full your hamstrings are, how big your calves are. It does. It truly does. And for me to sit here and say it doesn't, I'd be lying.
Now, what about, too, the thing that people talk about, like big guys versus small guys? And you're a big guy yourself on the tall side. Mm-hmm. How tall are you?
About 6'1", 6'2". Yeah.
By the way, how much do you weigh right now?
Right now, I'm probably about 190, maybe.
190, okay.
Yeah.
And that's definitely lean, although you're ripped. Look, it's funny because in a way 190 isn't that heavy, but yet you look bigger when you're lean, right?
Right.
Because you really look huge, but yet.
I used to, it's so funny, I used to play with the whole size thing. I was so focused on, I want to be 215, 220, big arms, and I used to be much bigger. And I realized that I just want a lean physique. I don't care about the size, and the weight I want to tell you, it's a fake number. It doesn't mean anything. You should be more concerned with your body fat percentage, how your clothes fit. And that's what I would say. The weight doesn't mean anything, because when you see someone in a photo, a guy is ripped 185, the guy looks like he's 215, 220 anyway, because he's so lean. So the weight doesn't mean anything. I think people get so focused on, oh, I want to be 215 and 220 and big arms and wide. It doesn't mean anything.
That's why I used to be that way, but now I'll just settle for lean. I want to get back down to fit.
Honestly, it's just having a lean, healthy physique, a small waist, be able to fit in the clothes, and hopefully you can walk on the beach with some nice abs. That's a nice thing too, you know. So.
And the reason I was asking about height is that, and you were saying genetics, that you hear that it's easier for smaller guys in some ways to get big than tall guys. Do you think that's true?
It's true. No, it's absolutely true. It took me forever, Greg, to be able to be in a position to put on size, because I have long limbs and long legs. And so if you're a shorter guy, I honestly believe it's easier to put on muscle. But when you have long limbs, long arms, it does take time. It took me forever. It was not an overnight thing. I remember back in the day training 6 days, 7 days in a week, just killing it and killing it. It took me a lot of time, that's for sure. Yeah.
All right, we'll pick it up in just a second. We'll be right back with Obi.
All right.
Ready for this. And we are back with personal trainer and fitness model Obi Obadike today, answering all of your questions and some of mine about
Q&A,
fitness.
baby, Q&A.
That's right. Actually, I have one more for you, though.
Another question?
Yeah, for me personally,
Okay.
not from the viewer. We were just talking about genetics and how that influences things, but do you think, is there a racial difference? We've talked in the past about, on YouTube when
not
there were
the
questions.
black and white thing
Well,
again.
people say that.
Yeah.
For instance, when there's a marathon, the Kenyans always win the marathon, and you're thinking, there's some fast runners in Kenya. Now, is it just because, I don't know, they're raised where they're messengers running from town to town and they're really fast? Or, I mean, do you think that there is
there have been statistics that have been done, and I don't know it off of my head, but it has been reported. I have seen statistics where blacks probably can maybe produce more, or maybe leaner or more ripped than a white person. I have seen the statistics. I don't know the numbers, but it seems from the statistics that I've seen is more favorable. But I've seen ripped white guys, I've seen ripped Asian guys, Indian guys, and stuff. So I would hate to say that if someone's black, they can probably get leaner than a white guy. Because
so just get your ass in the gym and do
just get in the gym. It's like being fit. It's I've seen some of the best physiques that have just been, all types of different races. Absolutely. So the main thing is just following a good diet, training hard, figuring out your body type, and then just being consistent. That's the main thing. Being consistent. Yeah.
That could be the hard thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, when you were saying that you stay in shape year round when we were talking before, how do you stay consistent, or what's your motivation? I mean, is it just the...
It's so funny. I fall the same trap as the rest of society. Sometimes I've been training my whole life, and sometimes I'm just like, oh man, I want to go in the gym. Sometimes I don't want to do it. But you know what? The fans actually, I am empowered to actually train harder and get in the gym by people that email me, my fans and the readers of the different magazines that I write for. And so you're almost empowered to make better decisions in your life because people do look up to you as a role model, young kids,
and
adults.
You get a boost when
you get boost. You get a boost of energy. I get a boost from my fans, honestly. So they actually what helped me keep me on point, even when I feel like I don't want to go in there. And there are times when I do. When I don't want to go in the gym. Well, I don't want to go to the gym today, so I'm not going.
How often do you go, by the way?
I would say I used to back in the day 6-7 days a week, way back in the day when I was crazy, but I would say about 4 days now. 1 week 4, 1 week 5, 1 week 4, 1 week 5.
And how much time do you spend in the gym?
I would say no more than 90 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, no more than that. It's a combination of weight. Well, I do the weight training 90, and then I'll do like 15, 20 HIT, high intensity running. I'll go for like a 3-mile run, 8-minute mile pace.
So you believe in the high intensity?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I do not believe in the long marathon cardio. No, you can get everything within 20 minutes.
I'm
boom.
out there like running for an hour. I should try.
What?
Max has told me about the high intensity.
Absolutely. Max is a good guy. He knows about that. That's his thing. That's his thing.
Okay, I'll try to mix it up some, or put it on random on the treadmill. I don't know, where it's like going fast and slow. Too much thinking for me, I guess. What are some of the best healthy fat-burning foods that will help you get lean while dieting?
Okay, oatmeal, chicken, egg whites, brown rice, sweet potatoes, vegetables, which are great for the antioxidants, you know. So those type of foods. You know, chicken, like I said, I mean, chicken
and rice.
Chicken and rice, yeah. I mean, honestly, you can literally drop weight just by eating chicken and vegetables, which is typically when you're training for a competition or photo shoot, that's typically the majority of my diet, honestly, is chicken and vegetables. Dieting is very redundant. The food is the same over and over again, and that's why it's so tough for people, because you don't have the variety. It's the same thing over and over and over again.
But does it help you to have a routine? Because I like kind of I mean, I tend to eat the same thing over and over again, especially when I'm being good, just because I kind of know then what I'm going to get. Like if I eat this, I'll weigh that, or you know what I mean? It's like, whereas if I'm always changing it, I wouldn't really know.
Right. Well, I mean, everybody's different. I mean, I think that most of society, when they're eating food, I think people typically like variety and they like change. Obviously, also the other flip end is that some people do like that consistency. It's like, okay, I know this is what I eat all the time. Boom, everything is organized. So, for myself, it's about falling in love with healthy foods. Thankfully, chicken is healthy, so I enjoy consuming chicken. Do I eat fried chicken? Very rarely, here and there, but broiled, you know, baked. So it's trying to fall in love with healthy foods, you know.
Well, people love consistency when it's pizza, but they hate it when it's rice.
Exactly.
How important are cheat meals? And I think you were talking about cheat meals before, but how important are cheat meals when dieting, and how many should somebody have? How often can you cheat?
I would say for my clients, I would say I don't have a client. I have a client like one cheat meal a week. So it's like you're using the cheat meals as a reward for eating healthy, you know. So when you're dieting, I would say one cheat meal a week. If the person has pretty good genetics, you know, and a fairly fast metabolism, I would say 2 cheat meals a week, but typically about 1 cheat meal a week. I do not believe you should diet and not consume a cheat meal once a week. I think it's ridiculous to ask someone to be on the strict diet and not have a day where they can have
you
fun.
need to live a little.
No, you do. You really do, and your body needs it, because you're depriving when you're dieting. The dieting is so strict, and your carbs are so limited, your fats are so limited. You need to replenish the carbs and the fats that you're depriving yourself throughout the week, and that's what the cheat meal, in my opinion, is for. And it also revs up your metabolism if you actually consume a cheat meal when you're eating healthy throughout the week.
Christian Boving told me once, I think, that he keeps a list on his refrigerator of all the foods the bad foods he wants to eat, but then like once a week or whatever, he has a few hours when he'll have his cheat period, I guess, or cheat meal. And but he makes his list during the week.
Right.
He doesn't eat it then, but
Okay.
he makes the list, and then he goes crazy at one point for that one meal or whatever, and eats what was on the list.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I guess that worked for him,
absolutely.
so.
And the cheat meal should not be like, if you're eating, let's say for example, you're eating healthy and it's chicken. Your cheat meal should not be chicken. It should be different from what you're eating throughout the week, health-wise. Well, it could be pizza. Just make sure when you're cheating and you're eating a pizza, it's not the whole pizza, it's a slice. You know, it's more to savor the taste buds. It's not to fill your belly.
Yeah, and it's funny. I really believe that too. A lot of it in life is just the flavor.
It's just the flavor.
You know, but yet that leads us down such a path.
Yeah, don't. And sometimes, man, you got to be careful. You have to, when you're giving, a diet to someone, you say, hey, go cheat. You have to almost like direct them and be very detailed. The person's going to end up, eating the whole damn Pizza Hut.
When I'm really being good, but I'll cheat and I'll have like gum or something, where I'll just get the flavor from the gum.
Absolutely.
Which, although at the moment I want the whole chicken, but
yeah.
What are some? This is probably going to be our final question because we're running out of time. But what are
Sure.
some of the best cardiovascular activities that somebody can do to help them shed fat?
I think cardiovascular activities should be things that you enjoy doing. Okay, so let's just say jump roping, going on a jog, around the park or around the lake or something like that. Playing basketball. Basketball is a great cardiovascular workout. You know how many calories you can burn playing basketball? Treadmill and the Stairmaster. I'm not an inside
It's
cardio
boring.
person. It gets very redundant. I like doing stuff on the outdoors, and I like doing sports-related type of activities. Racquetball is great as well too.
By the way, what about dancing? And I've heard people actually tell me.
Dancing is great too. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you can burn, for crying out loud, maybe 300 something calories maybe within the night just dancing for a couple hours.
A reason to go clubbing right there.
Let's go night clubbing right now, Greg. Let's go dance.
Well, it's a wrap, so thank
All right,
you,
my
sir.
man.
Ready
Thank you
to
so
hit
much.
the
Always a
club
pleasure
and
to
the
be on
gym
your
and
show.
everything. Well, pleasure to have you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time.
Cool.